Welcome back, guys. So today I have Temur Phoenix. You may be asking why the green splash, but after when you play it, it will become so obvious. So in the main deck, the only green card that we're splashing for is Abundant Harvest. And Abundant Harvest has an ability that is just better than Scry. So if you think that Opt or Serum Visions are good cards, why not just play a card that just takes it a step further, right? The ability to just get a land or a non-land is just a tier above, because that is exactly why you're scrying. You're either trying to find a land to help you cast more spells, or you're trying to find another spell, and this just bypasses that while working with Brainstorm. So you can clear your Brainstorms by either putting 2 spells on top and choosing land, or putting 2 lands on top and choosing non-land. The other added benefit of playing green is the sideboard cards. So blue-red doesn't give you a way to efficiently deal with enchantments like Rest in Peace and Leyline. Cindervines deals with both of those, and it also happens to hose the mirror. Then you have Clothes, who deals with graveyard threats as well as the life gain. Blue-red doesn't offer you any life gain options, and you have to play cards like Leyline or some artifacts, which are fine, but Clothes ends up being a total package. Ramp, win condition, life gain, does it all. Basically a removable threat. Once it resolves, it's just gonna stay there, and it's just gonna generate value. So that is the reasoning for the green. Also, Abundant Harvest pairing with Dreadhorde Arcanist gives you way more cantrips to pair with your Dreadhorde Arcanist. And so the way I sculpted this deck would be the same theories that you would have in Legacy. This deck is a lot closer to Delver than I would say the Phoenix deck in Modern. So the Memory Lapses are here because I view this format as like a bunch of soft combo decks, and those soft combo decks can be disrupted by a Memory Lapse. So if you resolve a Dreadhorde Arcanist, or you're just casting a bunch of cantrips and you place a Memory Lapse in between those, it buys you the perfect amount of time to combo off and kill your opponent. So you have the Arcanist portion, which I believe is the most powerful card in Historic and is eventually gonna get the Banhammer. And then that basically creates a infinite value engine, where you're either killing all of your opponent's creatures, or you're just getting so much value out of it, just siphoning through your deck. And then the finishing part is going to be the Crackling Drake. So we're playing a maximized velocity to kind of make a Splinter Twin out of Crackling Drake. And then the Royal Scions, if your opponent has flyers as well, gives it the reach it needs to just trample right on through their threats. And so that's basically my thought process behind building this Phoenix deck. So next, we're just gonna jump into some games, and then I'll talk about the sideboard right after. Alright, so we're going to be doing a match from my stream. This is a pretty interesting match. So we have a pretty great hand. We have cantrips, we have answers, we have win conditions. So definitely gonna keep this hand. And we're gonna start off with Botanical Sanctum. Opt makes more sense here than Abundant Harvest, because if the Opt hits a land, then we want a spell, and if the Opt hits a spell, we want to go for land. And we end up drawing 2 lands here, so it makes it much easier for us to Abundant Harvest for a non-land. We deal with the Soulscar Mage, And we continue on. Opponent plays nothing. Puts us in a pretty good spot. Probably going to end up Faithless Looting here. We have an extra land already. Drawing the Fabled Passage means that we're ready for Crackling Drake next turn. And we get to leave open Memory Lapse. So everything works out perfectly. Cast a Faithless Looting. And we hit another looting, a Brainstorm. So ditching Faithless Looting plus land makes a lot of sense. We go and play a land and pass a turn back. Seems like a great Memory Lapse target. Back on top. And Crackling Drake time. Alright, that's problematic. Torbran is a scary card because Crackling Drake seems much easier to kill with a Torbran around. So we'll start the turn off with a Brainstorm, put back 2 lands, fetch them away, and opt seems like a good way to see what's on top of our library. Another opt seems bad. Found a Memory Lapse, which is interesting. It might be a good way to protect our Crackling Drake. But we went with the Faithless Looting instead. I think this was a mistake. Yes, it presents a 1-turn clock, but we know about the Goblin Chain Whirler already. And so if they play Goblin Chain Whirler plus another thing, then that puts us in a really bad spot. We could have just spent the whole turn protecting the Crackling Drake and then gone off the next turn anyways. Instead, we get our whole board wiped, so I think that was a mistake. But we do have a chain of spells, so let's try and get this Phoenix back so we can try and present lethal as soon as possible. So our choices here are Faithless Looting, Lightning Axe, which deals with the Torbran. Also bring back the Phoenix so we have a 3-turn clock. Playing the Crackling Drake might have been a better play if we could cast the axe, but we were 1 red mana short in doing that play. But if you think back all the way to the beginning of the game, we discarded a Spirebluff and played the second Botanical, and that mistake mattered all the way up until this turn. So, but we put ourselves in a good position anyways. We have a 1-turn clock with Memory Lapse backup, and we have 2 good blockers. So I would say we reclaimed our position, but if we had played things a little bit more correctly, we would have been in a slightly better position. And so attacking here, this is a pretty tough decision. Do we block and play around double removal spell? Double burn spell? Or do we take the gamble? The gamble's payoff is you win immediately the next turn. So I think it is better to just block 1. They have the Ember Cleave, the perfect Memory Lapse target, and we're going to go down to 2, crossing our fingers. Do they have it? And it's a Frostbite. We lose our dragon, but now we have 2 spells in hand. We virtually have our opponent at 1. So if we find a Pillar of Flames, or another Phoenix, we have them dead. And we get quite a lot of looks at it. Casting the Faithless Looting from the yard. Find 2 cards that we don't need. So we still have 2 more cards we can look at. We can go for the Faithless Looting. If we have Phoenix, we win. And we bricked. So our slight mistakes caught up to us and cost us this game. And they were right there. They were right in the next 3 cards. Any of the cards that would have won us the game. So it's time to board. We definitely want Gus. Definitely want our Braids. And Clothius is a form of life gain. So definitely seems like the perfect card to bring in. Memory Lapse is out. Yeah, the Royal Scions is a nice win condition if they have Graveyard Hate, but it's honestly too slow for this matchup. Alright, on to game 2. We have a pretty decent hand. No green mana, but worst comes to worst, we can discard the Abundant Harvest. Definitely gonna end up brainstorming at the end of turn. And we found some good ones. We also found a green source for our Abundant Harvest. Let's play another Spirebluff. Pass with Aether Gust open. Our opponent ends up doing nothing, so we're just gonna go for the Brainstorm. Oh no, we don't. We don't go for the Brainstorm. Might as well look at 3 fresh cards. And just get rid of 2 lands using the harvest and put a Phoenix into the yard. And since we found more removal, better removal, time to get rid of the pillar, get in for 3, but Lightning Strike comes down. Crackling Drake would be an excellent draw if we didn't play that forest. So during the stream I was still playing the forest, but this was a clear indicator of why I'm not playing a forest in my updated list, the one that is that hopefully you guys will be playing. So we opt, brainstorm, trying our best to set up this other Phoenix. So land and removal makes sense. Our opponent still hasn't played anything for us to have braid, so we're already holding 2 pieces of interaction. Burning Tree into Torbrand. This is a little bit of an awkward turn because we could play the Crackling Drake, or we can leave open Axe plus Gust. gonna be a low resource game because we have to mulligan and then start off with the Faithless Looting. Well, we start off with Pillar. Ooh, Karizev is very, very scary. But it's time to gamble. Faithless Looting. Yep, we end up hitting the land. Get rid of Opt. We can't cast it. We're just trying to conserve as much life as possible. And the only way we're gonna steal this game is if this Arcanist can make an impact and it isn't killed immediately. And they play a Chain Whirler. That's absolutely fantastic. We end up hitting a land. So we can definitely just abrade the Goblin Chain Whirler. And now Dreadhorde Arcanist is free to attack. We can either Axe here, or we can go for a cantrip. Axe seems like the best thing we can do, especially if they didn't present a removal spell. And we are now in a lot of trouble. Without Dreadhorde Arcanist being live, we cannot gain value off the card. So we have 2 Phoenixes now in the bin, but we're empty-handed. This is 3 damage incoming. We can either block now or block later. And we're down to 10. And we're staring down a Torbrand and a Soulscar Mage. And they have a Bone Crusher. So we end up saving 4 points by blocking here. Play a Bone Crusher. And now we have to pray and chain off. Because we do have 2 Phoenixes in the yard. So we still have the ability to come back. And here, this is the point at which Abundant Harvest really shines. Oh, beautiful, beautiful. We're able to find the 3rd Phoenix. I mean the 4th Phoenix. And now we have the whole flock. Alright. Can 4 Phoenixes bring us back? We go for the best possible blocks, knowing we cannot beat Embercleave from this spot. And they have a Lightning Strike. No Embercleave. And now it's just a 1v1. We have no hope. It is going to be very difficult to bring back all 4 Phoenixes off of just the Faithless Looting. If we had another spell, we would definitely go for that route. But I feel like the Clothis is the cleaner route. So we're down to 3. We survive miraculously. We'll gain some life. Flashback the looting. We end up hitting a gust, which is perfect. they go for the attack. We get the Resolve the Gust. Put it on top. They don't do anything. And this is such a major comeback. We go up to 7. They go down to 15. We have a spell in hand. And we decide it's better to pass. And now we found an answer for the Torbrand. So it's probably best to just gain the life and pass the turn. We're all the way up to 9. We have the answer we need. We allow them to attack. We allow them to pump. Make sure all the mana's gone. And we'll put them down to 11. Still wait another turn. And it's time. Found some good removal, but we still can't bring back our Phoenixes. Another Torbrand, but we have it covered. Deal with the Torbrand, play our Crackling Drake. And our opponent is on a 1-turn clock. And Fry makes a lot of sense. That does seem like a card that would be stuck in your hand. So we've gained more than enough life. This turn is the turn that we're gonna go for the 3 spells. Starting off with the Faithless Looting, trying to maximize the amount of cards we see. Then we can go Brainstorm, and then we have Pillar. And yep, that should do it. Well, I hope you enjoyed the gameplay. Lastly, I wanted to talk about my sideboard choices. So, a lot of my sideboarding, I'm always trying to look for effects that can be brought in for a wide number of matchups. And Aether Gust is one of those cards, right? As you can see, we brought it in against the mono red deck. There's a lot of Torrential Gearhulk, Magma Opus cards, strategies floating around, Sultai Ultimatum cards that are floating around, and Aether Gust helps deals with all of those effects, so all of those decks. So Aether Gust really does a good job as a versatile sideboard card. Disdainful Stroke is basically adding diversification to the counter package, right? Negate only hits non-creatures, so I wanted to have some diversity because we do see cards like Elder Gargaroth come in, as well as Nissa, so you want to be able to deal with both. A Braid, dealing with aggressive matchups, as well as matchups that are bringing in artifacts like Grafdigger's Cage. And then Cindervines, which comes in the mirror match, as well as matchups that have hate, like Rest in Peace. Narset, just part of your sideboard transformation package where you're trying to bring in a bunch of counters, and the Narset does a good job at stopping your opponent's cantrips as well as helping you find more of your sideboard cards. Sweltering Suns, this is a hedge against the uprising of like green white company and other human strategies. It's not one that was in my list initially, but the more popular some of these Thalia decks have become, the more I've wanted to have a Sweltering Suns type of effect. And then lastly, Clothis, our life gain, our graveyard hate, one of the hardest things to remove from the game. So yeah, I would say it's one of the primary reasons to be in green. So that concludes why I chose to pick a lot of these sideboard cards. I am going to be putting a sideboard guide in the description, so if you're looking for a full-on sideboard guide that I'm going to be using this weekend for the Insight 5K, I'm going to be streaming that, so make sure you tune in. But thank you for watching, and subscribe to the channel if you already haven't, and thank you for your time. I'll see you next time.